this up. Basically, this was written when I was 21 years old in India on a 3-month backpacking trip, in which we were scammed out of 1/3 of our money the very first day in Delhi. And I always kind of relate, and it's not like I was really, I won't even say naive, I was super ignorant. I had this textbook ideal, which is very romanticized. India is the place that makes the gods jealous, like that kind of perspective. But I was with a friend who had just done a semester exchange, Canadian friend who had just done a semester of exchange in India, so he was familiar. He had just been back for 3 months, and then he decided to come back with me, and we lost 1/3 of our money. And I always liken this to the movie Groundhog Day. Bill Murray wakes up, and it's the same day again. So he's learned how he can use the proper tactics to seduce this woman who really hates him. But he gets to try over and over and over again. He knows what buttons to push, right? And I think that's what India is like. You get so many wide-eyed, you get so many wide-eyed people that show up after having the squinty-eyed ideal of India from the textbook. They arrive wide-eyed and they don't know what's going on, and you learn how to speak to them and how to convince them and how to get their money, just like Bill Murray learns how to seduce the woman. Dacoits, bad people in India, learn how to take advantage of the wide-eyed tourist. So the way this text starts is the loss of money, and then kind of being tricked into a trip to Kashmir, to Srinagar, which was in martial law at that point in time, and it has usually been for years now. A bomb went off, killed people. We had to leave because it was Independence Day, which is in January, which is different from Republic Day, which is in August. But we were on a road, and there was a huge snowstorm, and a bus went off the cliff in front of us because it's a one-way road, but because of the monsoon and the problems with the unrest, it was two-way traffic. So for me, in the beginning, India was this run-on sentence. It didn't make sense. I think a better title might have been Run-On instead of Refrain, but I kind of like the double entendre of Refrain for the title. But so basically, as the book progresses, and I read it in second person, which isn't done too often, and I don't follow traditional grammatical conventions. I don't use full stops or commas. I use any punctuation, kind of like the last chapter of Ulysses, where there's just 6 space breaks and 60 pages in the penultimate chapter, which I was sort of modeling off because when I was in India, I actually went to this appliance/used bookstore, used appliance and bookstore, and I took Ulysses off the shelf and they replaced it with this mini toaster, right in front of me. Anyway, so I was reading Ulysses at the time that I began working on this. That's some of the style, the stream of consciousness. The second person was just because I was always beside myself, so I used you as a marker of, to interpolate the reader into the text, to call you in, and to see myself as a you, like sort of as an other, negotiating this new space. And I couldn't make sense of things, so I didn't think that I should force conventional grammatical constrictions, which put things in certain orders upon the text. But later on in the text, it becomes more conventional poetry. I call them short stories in verse. I basically, in this text early, I'm using, I don't know, you can just see there's no capitals, very kind of long Ginsberg lines, and then I don't have any full stops, and I think this is the first piece, and it's 20 pages without a full stop. Just line breaks, and some very long lines, but some are quite short, which can function as commas too. But so I was kind of modeled on all of these early modernist and high modernist techniques that I was kind of playing with, and I thought they were just the best way to represent my lostness, my attempt. And I think I mentioned this last time we were here. There's this move I make. You go from being critic to person. It's like a pendulum shift. The person is enjoying it. The critic is always removing him or herself from it to critique it, right? And I was always at 1 degree. You know, when I was so enmeshed and confused and nothing made sense, I kind of wanted to be able to remove myself, but I couldn't, so I'm lost in it. But then later on, it becomes more modulated or controlled with more conventional kind of poetic techniques, but still without punctuation. The shorter lines, easier to read, but best read aloud. That's more conventionally how poetry works, right? I mean, prose is meant to be read and verse is meant to be heard.
Now, what are you trying to achieve then by not using punctuation? Because I think it can be so misleading to say you're putting a line in and so on, but doesn't it sort of, the reader, doesn't he get sort of misled, or doesn't he sort of lose the joy of reading? You know, if he sort of...
maybe the best way to answer that, can I read one piece
here?
Yes,
okay. I wanted to suggest that, yes.
I like to say that they're short stories, but they're just written more in verse form. I will read, I guess this is, if I'm a one-trick pony, this is the one trick I have, is this one piece that people tend to like, which is from early, if I can contextualize it for you a little bit. This is about 2 weeks into the trip, 3 weeks into the trip, and I learned later that you never ever go to a bus station or a train station or even an airport too early. Because people will notice that you can be taken advantage of because you're sitting around. Arrive late and rush to refrain or to stop other people from being able to take advantage of you. Okay, so this piece is about one of these friendly people who took advantage of me. It's called Distrust Friendly Gentleman. And you can see the way it looks. Basically, this page is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines, and then there's a double break, so this is a full stop. So you have 8 lines in the first half of the poem. The second half is 8 lines as well, but they're a bit longer. Some of them are quite long. And then there's a third part, which is just 1 sentence after a line break. Distrust friendly gentleman who says sit, relax, and put back up top, and then appears outside your train window and tells you to open it wide, for it's very hot humid. And you talk about Canada and Germany and his Germany girlfriend and the 6 languages who knows and his bad English intonation and his 86 graduation, and he says thrice, like you have? And you don't. So the unsmiling family man in the seat beside grudgingly passes out his butt through black barred window. And conversation continues as friendly gentleman walks back, fading into just post-dusk train station platform dark blackness. And you bring him back lightning alive by quoting the conversation with returned mineral water in hand, biscuits in other Denton, my friend, who then suggests a game of chess to burn some time. And he reaches above for the board in his pack as you stand and look above, eyes emptying, and thank the god of the hour after touching glasses, patting muddy belt. And you miss your journal and novels, for they were sleeping in your pack, which is now running on the back of conniving, conspiring, disappeared friendly language gentlemen's accomplices unseen, long gone, quick, crafty hands. I, desperate, frantic to find, starving search follows, as train tells you, look up and down, absence echoing, it won't be found. You ask, frowning, cigarette butt family man, about Houdini'd pack. And his eyes go wide as search party grows by 1 to 3, and he leads you off the train, owl-eyed, head fumbling, stumbling, incredulous. And his eyes grow glowing hand raises index finger shooting and his mouth follows. Run, 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 go, go, go now, run. Trying to keep up with his legs, and the canter conveys colored hope ahead, and you exhale instinct alone in familiar green and purple on gray platform and black night in front of red train, and mouth pops as the friendly language gentleman's unseen before, accomplice quick pivots, eyes stopping, mouth waiting. You wonder loud, what are you doing? ×3, an unsmiling family man pants out questions, index triggering target, as the friendly language gentleman's thieving accomplice stumbles on truth and drops pack down drastic, and then points and hesitates the way to the locomotive, almost wholly Buddhist book Gaia bound, and steps into one car's side and shoots through the other, and his walking lead becomes a sailing slippery getaway down the steel line. You, stunned, relieved, saved by the regained weight down spine, adrenaline adapting, an unsmiling family man wails, Police, 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 to invisible beige uniforms that won't be German. And you're dumbfounded dumb, and the inevitable, incredible India crowd congregates and coagulates round you and frowning family man, and Hindi, Oriya, fast, slow English explanation replays that would amaze, enchant, maybe startle, stifle the chronicling fingers, thumbs, ears of Faulkner and Clemens. And sweaty, shiver-shaking burden, and big glee and bloated mind. And all you want to do is hug the unsmiling family man, who never liked the friendly language Germany girlfriend and bad English intonation 86 graduation ungentleman from the get-go, as quaking, quivering body delivers him pale, thinning, dead white right for Trinity time. And he, you very lucky, and leading pulls you past constantly curious crowd, back to car, as you hide smile from eye wandering, wondering Denton. And you place your bigger burden now bag on hook, knowing there are light bulbs watching and sure plots pondered, and this is India. And comfort of 3 minutes previous stakes you, breaks you, makes you. I was going to lose my breath when I read that. But yeah, it really was an exercise. It's a good question you asked too, because when I wrote the book, it was kind of automatic hand. And I was 21, and I thought I'm going to be like this genius writer because it just pours out of me. It's never appeared again in life, sadly, since. But for some reason, in that environment, every day I would just sit down and I could just pick up the pen, and for 2 hours I would write, and I would just write as though there was no internal editor. I would just write. And so even the way the text is now is kind of imposing a certain kind of structure upon it, because were it to be how I originally wrote it, it would just look not unlike I imagine Jack Kerouac's The Dharma Bums. On the road, looked like what Jack Kerouac did, you might remember, is he ate a lot of Benzedrine, and he got a roll of paper, so instead of having, so he wouldn't have to replace the sheets in the typewriter. And he had written on the road twice already, and publishers rejected it. So he sat down and thought, okay, I need to have less control on it, I need to just get it out. So in 17 days he just, never removing the paper because it was a big roll. And his wife would come home, his fiancée at the time would come home, and she'd have to take his t-shirt off him because he was sweating so much. And the whole apartment was just this clothesline of sweaty t-shirts drying for 17 days as he wrote, So this text was like not 17 days, but say like 3 months of 2 hours a day of just automatic hand, and then turning it into the question you asked before, like how do you control it so the reader can approach it. So I have done a lot of editing en route to making it a lot more reader friendly, I guess, approachable for the reader. But it does help when it's heard, because you see that I'm injecting a lot of pauses. Yeah, I go fast, but then I pause, I take the breath.
Yes.
It's part of the approach. So that's the answer to your question. That's kind of my my claim to fame is that one piece. Another one I like a lot is the last piece, when I'm comfortable almost in here. I can read that piece as well if you'd like. Kashmiri man meets us in the street, and he's got these beautiful, enchanting blue eyes, and he's like, I help you. You come for lunch. I buy you lunch. And then he starts showing us pictures of Kashmir and shows us how we can go trekking and get to ride horses and do all these great things. Didn't really materialize that way. The short of it was a 30-minute pony ride where we put the guides on the ponies because the ponies were too small to support our weight, and that the guides were 6-year-old kids. That was the 1-week trekking. And we spent a lot of money for that, and had to do 24-hour car rides and pretend we owned the car and talk to immigration agents because of the whole tensions between Pakistani Kashmir and Indian Kashmir, and then the bus falling off the cliff, all these, and the bomb and all these things happening. 1/3 of our money in one day for a 30-minute pony ride, basically. But okay, I'll read the last piece, which is basically we were really sick. I kept getting sick, and I had lost about 30 pounds after a bit of time in the hospital and getting food poisoning. So we're in Kathmandu now, we're in Nepal, and we finally get a flight back. But the thing is, the flight is in 2 days, and we are a 38-hour bus ride away. So we need to get back, and we need to go to Pokhara first en route because we're 19 and you have to go to Pokhara. So we have to do these things to get to the plane on time. So this is called As Sure As. As sure as plains will grow in comfort and cleanliness, tenfold in Indian arrival departure interim. And as sure as rainbows have cartoon beginnings, and stars conspire to steal the sky, the romantic ideal rarely intersects India's real. As turbulence troubled plains gyratedly jump less than Delhi's dubious buildings on buildings crookedly struggling, suffering through shadows, up, kissing, smiling sun, like laughing lotus flowers and unsoiled life lunge, like Don Juan desired deeper delving, and Siddhartha's lotus-limbed renouncing, fasting, forgetting, long unwashed, unkept, falling out, hair, ribs poking full out, eyes plunging full in, unstriving for full emptied flame. And Avalokiteshvara wishes for all's unwishing, and Amitabha Buddha laughs, loud, lazy, long luminescence. Simon, gracefully mileaged and middle-aged, Vietnam vet, army hair veering very strong left, dragon tattoo flaming, fanning and flaming left forearm. And Simon proves that paradox unbuilds previously sound blocks that question doubt divergent reason. That futures past blows horns outside in. That shadows retire too much touched. As he sits double fisting cigarette and blackest stone, which is hash, black stone, and thinks of never full ashtrays, talking of several scattered suns and Kashmiri carpets, and his endless knowing all too well, for he met His Holiness the Dalai Lama today, and he commends Thai stick. And Thailand's sex is very fair, and his satellite dish is being installed, and Dharamsala will soon sell cellular phone service, and technology is good, global westernization is bad, and Buddhism is his business. And he commends Yanni, and defames distrusted in-laws who made him miss Yanni's show at the fabulous Taj Temple Mahal, and he can't forgive. And Srinagar is fine, barely 20 assassinations last night. And McDonald's McMutton burgers fresh, and he avoids all garbage food. And you might not know this, but I've been recognized by the Dalai Lama and His Holiness himself. So I adorn the robes next month. And he elaborates on his LA monastery, and weekends in sleepless Spain, and his house at Everest Base Camp 1. and doesn't mind altitude. And patience has evolved radical in past 20 years. But he needs thermal glass double-plated windows at sure soon the Polley Western house. And must have Jetstream 6 by 8 green jacuzzi. And Sherpas will swing the fragile fiberglass dead weight, no problem. And the plumbing's all worked out. And his cigarettes in empty Coke. And he takes a rickshaw 5 blocks so Kashmiri friend can buy him shirts, trousers, time, life, luck, longing. Now Simon sits, Johnny Walker special in hand, raving about connoisseur quality Manali pot. Grows as free as dandelions in mad America. And 500 US should be plenty for 10 days in Kathmandu. And his flight's only $280 round trip. And no way he's gracing the 36-hour bus. And his crystal glass empties. And his cigarette filters away. So his mouth finally shuts. And his eyes must follow. And we all want until time no longer lies waiting.